All right, everyone, welcome back to Storytime with Sarge. So this week we are going to talk a little bit about the way I see leadership, and I kind of broke it down into 8 little subcategories, and there's a lot you could throw in there, but that's where my focus this time. I'm starting to catch a cold, so if I sound weird, that's why. And if I'm not back here, recording, and you don't have another video by next Wednesday, I'm a man, so I get man colds. Just assume that I'm dead and just drive on with your lives. I know how much of an impact this will have on you, but just send me your thoughts and prayers, and know I'm in a better place, because you never know with man colds. But I think I could power through that one, and I'll see you guys next week. But anyway, I'm gonna go over those things, and there's in the process I'm gonna jump on a soapbox a little bit because it's my least favorite phrase ever, and I heard it too much in the army, and I heard it too much in general. Um, I'll start with I hate when people say you don't have to like me, but you're gonna respect me, and I've never seen an effective leader. Now, I've seen a lot of leaders who I couldn't stand, and the general consensus was the same. Man, this is bad. All right, so first of all, cheers, Imperial IPA today. I never liked when they said that. If you think back to all your time leading, or even as a subordinate, anything, think of the people. Let's go with subordinates that you look back to. The ones you look up to the most, you keep in contact with, the ones you aspire to be like. They're not going to be the ones who are complete jerks to you the whole time. Yeah, you might emulate some of the things that they do. You might copy a few things here and there because it's what you learn and it's what you know and it's what you thought of as effective leadership. That's why I discussed that how bad of a toxic leader I was in the beginning. But the ones you look up to, the ones you look back to and recontact and try your hardest to like be just like them, they're the ones you like, right? They're the ones. They're not gonna go and have a drink of beer with you and have a good time and go shoot some pool, all that stuff, because they're not your friend. They're your leader, but you like them because of their character, because of their charisma. Something about them makes you like them. And it's not because they're a jerk. Nobody likes a jerk in the room. Yeah, you gotta laugh at him if he makes a funny joke or whatever, but no one likes that guy. So I'm gonna go into my 8 subcategories here. I broke them down into eight sections, 8 little pieces here, and this is my first time go at it, so it might change. It could adjust a little bit here and there, but this is how I see it, and this is how I've seen it for years now. I want to say probably 15 years. This is exactly how I tried to be as a leader since 2006, so 14 years. So number one, we'll call them the let's see, X 8 steps of leadership. No, we'll have to. Well, that's stupid. We'll come up with a good one. All right, so the first thing is what I've mentioned a couple times, and it's what Guy and I had talked about, was empowering your soldiers. All right, before I say junior enlisted or junior soldiers, know this: you young non-commissioned officers that are being promoted, you leaders, you lieutenants, and whatever your officer rank is in whatever branch of service you're in, young leaders, older leaders, if you've been doing this for a while, stop calling them lower enlisted. Don't call them that. They're not lower than anybody. They're not lower enlisted. Lower to me is lesser than, right? No one's lower than you. They are junior enlisted. They are junior soldiers. They're new. They are junior. One day they will make it to senior. Does that make them upper enlisted or upper nothing? No. No one's above anyone in the military. Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever. Boogaloos. Right? No, no one is above anyone. We are literally all on the same team. We're one team. you have your supervisors, you have your subordinates and all things. There's chains of command, but I'm not better than anybody. My commander was never better than anybody. Anybody I've ever met, they were just people just like me and you. They got paid a whole lot more. And that was good for them. But stop calling them that. Stop calling them lower enlisted. Call them junior soldiers or just call them soldiers. We know what you're talking about. All right, so that was an unintentional soapbox, but again, empower your subordinates, empower those junior soldiers and then junior leaders. And when I say empower, I mentioned this to Cooper last week or 2 weeks ago, and I even said it about Amanda, Staff Sergeant Robbins. Now, they would go. For example, Staff Sergeant Robbins, she did this. She was a specialist at the time. She said, Sergeant Eck, you're doing a whole lot. I would like to take over as the motor pool NCO. She was trying to get some leadership opportunities under her belt. She wanted to step into a little more avenues of authority and leadership, so she could learn how these things work. And I was like, yes, do it, right? My process was literally getting all the maintenance forms, scanning them in, checking for corrections, and sending them up. Hers, she had such a process. She kept a binder in order by date to watch all the improvements. She kept a tracker to find out which improvements were getting done and which ones weren't. Because I empowered her, she took that and made it her own little baby. You met Staff Sergeant Bourgeois last week. With our vehicle, he was my driver for a while, and I told him from minute one, I had him go make copies of keys to the vehicle. I said, these are your keys. This is our truck. If there's something wrong with it, it's our fault. We need to fix it. Don't count on anyone to fix it for us. And a perfect example of that was, I said, hey, we need some batteries. And we found out maintenance guys had a big charging station for all the Humvee batteries, so we brought them over there and put them on the station. And then he took it upon himself to go get them, make sure they were charged, put them back in the truck, and I helped him, of course. We did it all of ourselves because we didn't need anyone else to put a stinking battery inside of a vehicle. That's stuff you do in your own car. Why do we have to count on someone else to do that, right? Do it yourself. Have him check. But yeah, I made that his job. Like, hey, go get the batteries and let me know if you need help. And I brought my own tools to do it because if you want to rely on the tools that the Army gives you for your vehicle, you have to rely on maintenance. I'm so sorry I keep sniffing and stuff, guys. Empowered him. And then in the same breath, it shows a level of respect for them too. They show you respect because they have to. You have that legitimate power, right? They give you the respect they have to give. Show them some respect too, right? The respect of empowering them. If you're doing the tiny micromanaging stuff like so many leaders do, they lead out of fear of getting in trouble, so they micromanage to make sure it all gets finished right. If they tell you they're not leading out of that way, then there's something either serious wrong with them, they're like hyper type A personality and nothing can be done right, which is a failure of leadership anyway, or they're just lying to you. But yeah, so I was going somewhere with that. But anyway, pass some things off. Show them that you understand that they can get things done without you doing it for them. The second thing, number 2, see your subordinates for who they are. Not see them for themselves, not their rank. Not, you've been in the Army a year and a half. I've been in the Army 18 years. I can do this more than you. The length of time I spent in the Army doesn't make me a freaking awesome refrigerator repairman. Just because I've been in the Army 18 years means nothing. Right? I was an instructor my last assignment. I taught interrogations primarily. There were some kids that came through and interrogated me and blew my mind. I was like, wow, that was really good. Like, sure, I've been doing this for, at that point, was probably 9 years, 8 years, but that was awesome, dude. Congratulations. You just got me to talk. Had nothing to do with his rank or anything like that. I was impressed by how he worded his approach towards me. And as I was a detainee and he was the interrogator, and it worked. He did a great job. Not only that, but I had such smart people in my class. It was intimidating walking in any of my classrooms because I knew I was surrounded by people that were smarter than me. And I've already told you I thought they were better than me because of the fact that they joined the Army when they did. So every morning I was intimidated to walk into a classroom. I walked in like a goober and I flexed like an idiot and stuff and I joked around, but inside I was like, dang, this is a genius room right here. And I loved it. I would go and I'd pick on them. I'd help them with their reports. Just because they were super smart didn't make them awesome intel report writers, because Army writing is terrible. It's really weird how we do it, and then writing for our reports is even worse. So I would help them with things like that. I would help as much as I can, because whatever knowledge I can dump on them, I'm going to do it. And they were so absorbent. Such incredible people. I never saw them as just a private who, they're just dumb privates. Oh, I hate that. It drives me nuts. Anyway, but these are people. Your neighbors, your friends, your classmates, whatever, who just join the Army. Who pick a reason they join the Army, right? And they did it, and they're awesome people for it. So see them for that. And this isn't just the Army. Like I said, this is every branch. As a leader, as a person responsible for their welfare and their well-being and their training and to make sure they're prepared for any situation, especially combat, obviously, for you to see them as a tool to put in your own pockets to use when you want to, it's awful. It demoralizes them. They can see it. They can see right through us as leaders. And I'm going to get to that point. I think it's number 8. Let me write this down. Number 7. All right, so we're going to move on to number 3 now. This is an obvious one. Don't show favoritism. You're going to have your subordinate that stands out. That's a go-getter, that gets things done. And that's their strength. Right? But everyone has their own strengths. You got to find out what they are. As a leader, you should be stepping back and giving them all kinds of responsibilities and find out what they do best. If it's cleaning weapons, if it's counting things, if it's making sure things are secure so nobody steals them, if it's acquiring things, if they're best friends with the supply guy, that's awesome, or a supply guy, or fill in the blank. Find what they're good at and use that, because they want you to use it. That's why they became good at it. They'll even tell you, like, hey, I can get that for you. I can do this. Sergeant, I can clean 7 weapons in the time it takes that dude to do 2. Right? So find out the strengths and use them and let them use them. But what happens is you'll get this one guy who's a stud, right? He 9 times out of 10, he's a PT stud. And he's good at running, so everyone loves him. But you're going to find your one who's always reliable. Hey, I need this done. And an hour later, it's on your desk. Or we got to get this whatever cleaned. And this is the guy who runs down and gets 5 people and goes and cleans a tent. Whatever the situation. You're going to have your go-getters. And cool. That's your guy who gets things done. That's not your favorite guy. You're a leader. All of them are your favorite guy, girl, whatever, right? I told you before, I genuinely loved all my soldiers. My last platoon before I went to the schoolhouse, I told you before, was my favorite platoon. Because I got to spend a lot of time with them. I prepped my own platoon for combat, which is pretty uncommon. A lot of times before you deploy, they do a task org. And they retask org. And they move everyone around. You train this whole team just so everyone else can say, I want them now. And I sent my people to the right schools. We all went to the right training. All the training we need to deploy, my soldiers went to. And then when it came down to task org, I literally had to go and I had to yell and scream at battalion to make sure I kept my soldiers. You don't see that a lot because a lot of people just accept it, like, oh, they're gonna take our guys anyway. Who cares? You know what? I was told to prepare my platoon to train and deploy as a team, and I did that, and I kept them together, and that's what every leader should do. So, if you can look at your entire team, platoon, team, squad, whatever, company, battalion, as one well-oiled machine, find out who's the least trained and train that guy, that girl, whoever it is. Find out what schools you possibly can afford as a unit and send your people to those schools. Become awesome. Um, don't just let your soldiers sweep the line and maintain vehicles and sweep the buildings and clean toilets and pull weeds and mow grass every day. Find out what schools they don't have. Go in the system, look what schools are available, and send them to your schools. Make them all your favorite. Make them all so they're untouchable. And the next unit they go to, they'll be like, damn, this guy, promote him now. And that's what happened to Freddie. He was awesome when he got there, and they promoted him twice. All right, so that's number 3. 4, I always try to do this. I'm doing a lot of this, obviously, based off the way I saw myself as a leader and the way I wanted to lead. So number 4, lead by example. You hear it all the time. Lead by example. So many leaders in any branch, I don't know, I can't speak for other branches leaders, but I'm sure it's the same way. Do as I say, not as I do. Right? Or all right, let's go. The whole platoon, we're going to go pick weeds. And I stand there with my arms crossed, and you pick weeds. That is not leading by example. That is not leading from the front. That's leading from your seat. That's being in charge of something and watching them do it. That is not leading. Get your freaking hands dirty. You're not above anybody. You might be over them responsibility-wise, command-wise, but you're not better than them. Get down there and pull some damn weeds. Have some character. If you've never pulled weeds in your life, well, congratulations. Now you get to do it. And you know what your soldiers see? You know what your subordinates see? Damn, I'm out here getting my butt kicked by a bunch of weeds, but you know what? So is Sergeant so-and-so. So is Lieutenant so-and-so. You know, I've had my commander take a lawnmower from me and mow the lawn before. Right? How freaking cool is that? I took it back and I laughed at him. But he got a couple lines in before I did, right? I was like, I'm going to let him. Right? And then I took it back because that's a jerk move. You shouldn't let your commander has way too much stuff to do to be cutting that grass. All right. So, that's 4. Lead from the front. Don't lead from the back. Don't watch them. Don't watch our people. Watch them. Watch them fall on their face, but pick them back up. Show them the right way. I meant to bring that up in the empower subordinates thing too. They're gonna fall. They're brand new at this. That's why you empower them young. Teach them how to do amazing things while they're terrible at it. So when it becomes time where they're expected to do it, they're amazing at it. All right. Number 5. Listen to your subordinates. All right. Leaders they totally lack empathy these days, and I don't know if it's new leaders. I know it was old leaders. It's sometimes it has to be taught, right? I had to be taught empathy. I can sympathize with you really well, but I never understood or took the time to understand empathy. If your soldiers got problems, don't just be like, I'm going to counsel you, make sure it's in writing, to go do something. This way, if first sergeant checks, what do you do? Well, I counsel them. Yeah, what do you do though? Did you help this man or woman in any way? Or anybody, senior management, anybody checks their stuff. Counseling's not going to do it. Come up with an avenue of approach. First, find out what's wrong. I'm going to tell you a story that, to this day, I will never respect this leader of mine. So let me mark that on number 5 here. Okay. All right. First of all, let me tell you, as a leader, don't be a television. All right. In communications, you have a sender and you have a receiver. Don't be the television, right? Don't be the sender and not be able to hear what they're saying. That's just somebody who likes to hear themselves talk and thinks they're smarter than everybody else, right? And you probably are pretty smart, right? Be the walkie-talkie, be the handheld radio, be something that when I put out a message, you can respond back to me. If I have a question, you can answer the question. If you're confused about something, you can ask me a question, right? Don't be a television. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you why I hate the lack of empathy. So we were in Afghanistan in 2010-11, and we were supposed to redeploy in late July, and in July, early July, it was almost before we came back, my father died. It was while we were signing over our equipment to the new team, and my team hadn't arrived yet because of weather and dust storms and things like that, they couldn't fly. So they hadn't gotten there yet, and it was getting kind of late in the changeover. And my soldier, Zach Davis, he had already been to one of our advanced courses. He was better trained than I was. I had just gone into that job, and that's when I changed over from interrogations because the team that was currently there was making some mistakes with the team leader, and we had to do a realignment. But Zach was way above me when it came to knowing what he was doing. And I'm not saying above me like, you know what I'm talking about, right? My comprehension level of our job, he blew me out of the water. And he knew the equipment just like I did. Sure, I was a nerd about labeling it and making sure I knew where everything was. And I had it written down in my notes where everything was. But you know who did it with me? Him. We walked around the entire base and signed for our equipment every single month and took pictures of everything every single month. So, my father dies. And I called home and I said, are you going to have a funeral for him? And it was like, no. And I said, do you want me home? And she said, yes, of course I do. So I talked to my command, and I talked to my boss, who was my platoon sergeant at the time. I didn't have a platoon yet, and this is the guy I had gotten in a big argument over Joseph Anderson before our deployment. So I called him. I said, hey, my father just died. I'd like to go home and be with my family as they mourn. He said, well, we're about to do inventories. You got to sign your team over. I said, Davis could do that. And he's like, well, let me get back with you. And then I get a call like an hour later, and he said, hey, the commander doesn't like the idea of it. We're going to have to leave you here. And I broke down, of course, right? I cried. I just lost my dad, and I couldn't go mourn with my family, right? Thank God I had really good soldiers and awesome friends there. I made some really good friends at that base, and they were there for me. Yeah. So, and then I found out later that he never even talked to my commander. He didn't even ask. So I was already pretty upset with him for that. And then 3 weeks later, we redeploy. We come home. And the day before, the night prior to our next formation was our first time being together as a group back. It was a Thursday morning. We had a 4-day weekend coming up. And I said, hey, Sergeant so-and-so, my grandfather just died. I lost my grandfather from my mother's side. And he looks at me. He's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, I want to go home. We have a 4-day weekend come up. I don't need 2 weeks or anything. I just need to go be there for his funeral and say goodbye and mourn with my family. Literally, his words were, you're fucking killing me, Ek. And I'm so sorry for cussing. But that right there, I literally wanted to fight that man. That is a serious lack of empathy. So I said, okay, let's go talk to the first sergeant. I'll ask him myself. He's like, come on, let's go. And he goes up there and he's like, first sergeant, Ek's grandfather died. He's asking if he can go home again. Like, real frustrating. First sergeant's like, so send him home. Go, Ek, get out of here. Like, on a Thursday morning, I ultimately got a 5-day weekend out of it because he sent me home at 6 o'clock in the morning to go. That's the leader you want. I feared that guy, Lou Sanchez. I'm sorry for calling you out, man, but you were an amazing first sergeant, and I miss you. And if you're not listening to my podcast, I'm talking in the wind right now, but thank you, and I love you for that. And I'm glad you said that right in front of him. I hope he realized what a douche he was. And you know what? I know he didn't, because we get back. So those of you who don't know, I destroyed my back in Iraq. I got blown out of a vehicle and destroyed my back. So I was a walker for PT. I did the walk or run at my own pace and distance, however I was feeling that day, if I could feel my legs or not. So this guy's like, hey, Ek, I'm going to walk with you. This is after I got back from my grandfather's funeral. I said, okay, no problem, Sergeant. So we're walking down the road. We get about 10 minutes into it. And he's like, hey, are I know we're gonna change up companies and stuff, but I'd like to get an assessment from you. Like, how do you think I am as a leader? And I just looked down, took a deep breath, and I said, you don't want to know that. I don't want to talk about that. So he's like, no, let's hear it, man. Let's hear it. I need to know your opinion so I can try to grow. And I said, really, I honestly, I don't want to talk about that. And he's like, come on, man, it's okay. Whatever you guys say, to say it. I'm sure it's not that bad. And then I smiled. And I said, Sergeant, you are the worst non-commissioned officer and platoon sergeant I've ever met in my entire life. I've never had a leader who cares less about other people and more about himself than you do. I can't stand you, and I hope you never get the opportunity to stand in front of soldiers again. And he's like, damn, man, you didn't have to go there. And I stayed quiet after that. It was all I could do to literally not try to fight the guy. And I wasn't a violent guy. I don't enjoy fighting. I just had a huge disdain for him, not as a person, but as a leader. So that story, just to tell you, if you don't give a crap about your soldiers, they're going to see it. If you care more about your own face value, your own self, your own accomplishments than theirs, you're making a terrible mistake. And I'm really glad. You know what? I'm gonna go over the accomplishments in the next couple ones too. The next one is my favorite. I think I struggled with this one the most. You'll probably, I'm sure some people will comment and agree, but number 6, have a sense of humor, right? Let your subordinates see that you can make jokes or you can laugh at certain situations. A problem doesn't mean it's a instant catastrophe, everything's falling apart, right? The Army, if all the time, any action deserves an overreaction in response, right? One little mistake, everyone gets punished. And they always say that's only in basic training, but trust me, units do it all the time. Everyone has to suffer because of a mistake of one. And let's bring it down to a smaller level. Someone deadlines a vehicle and it has to go to the commander. He looks at it and it's like, dude, this just says like a dead battery. That's not a deadline, discharge it. Right? Let's laugh it off. Most people say, oh, you're an idiot. I'm going to have to check all your 5988s, your maintenance forms for the next whatever until I can trust you again. Or you can say, dummy, and laugh it off, right? People that are in a position of power, especially legitimate power. This is why I hate it. I love it because I earned it, right? I got to have legitimate power. But I also hate it because people leave it at that. They get that legitimate power and they're happy. But they tend to abuse that power. They get this ego about themselves. And their ego, again, makes them where that, I'm better than you. I'm better. I'm going to check your stuff from now on because I know everything about everything. And I'm going to make sure you learn from your mistakes by me punishing you more. But even when you're around the office, if you never, ever have a sense of humor, if you talk down to your subordinates, if you're just mean to them all the time, you walk into a room and you try to lighten the mood and make a joke, there's maybe one or two that'll laugh at you because they're like, but everyone's going to be so confused by that, right? You're inconsistent, right? If you're funny at home, if you're a wise guy, you're funny around your family, your immediate family back home, whatever it is, and you're a jerk at work, you can't just turn that around and expect them to go, oh yeah, he's a funny guy. No, I'm like, look at this idiot, look at this jerk. You're not funny, man, right? And that's how they're gonna look at you. So, be yourself, right? Have a sense of humor, and if you don't have a sense of humor, try to, right? Relax a little bit. Number 7, and I talked about celebrating your subordinate success. Number 7, be inspirational. Right? That doesn't mean go freaking climb Mount Everest and brag about it. Oh, I just had an inspiration. That doesn't mean run 7 marathons in a week. All that stuff. No, that's cool. Good. Awesome. You can run a lot. I can't. Right? What I mean by that is like, show them that it's okay to fail once in a while. When I made mistakes in my company, I'm an open book. I would let my guys know, like, hey, just so y'all know, I did this. I just got in trouble for it. try not to do it again, right? And they don't do it again, or they don't make the same mistake I did. So it shows a vulnerability to them. And it shows them that, oh, look, Sergeant Eck isn't as perfect as he tries to make us think he is, right? Everyone knows no human is perfect, right? That being said, when it comes to them, I remember taking my soldiers to boards, promotion boards, and they would get their promotable status, and I would lose my mind in excitement. I'd be celebrating them the entire way back. I'd be calling my friends for them, and it was insane. I would celebrate so hard with them. When I see soldiers now that were my students or my soldiers before, and I see that they made rank somehow, I'll find a way to reach out to them and tell them, like, hey, congratulations, that's awesome. Like, show them that you literally care for them, and not that the Army tells you to care. Okay, or the military. I keep saying the Army because that's what I was in, right? The last one before I go into my soapbox talk is be accessible, right? When you're accessible, that I'm going to pull back the empathy card too. Man, I am miserable. I have a story for that one. I was a recruiter in California. I was in like a super liberal area, Marin County, California. If you Google me, Google my name and Marin County, you'll see there's a newspaper article they did back when I was a recruiter. But I remember after that article came out, one of the teachers at one of my high schools had reached out to the recruiting station and was like, hey, can Sergeant Eck come and talk to my class? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I love talking to classes of people. Again, I was always intimidated. I can say when I did speeches in front of entire high schools, my knees were shaking like bacon. It was so bad. But for some reason, I enjoy it. It's like an adrenaline rush or something. But yeah, I would talk to your students, of course. And I get down there, and I do my thing. I'm laughing and joking with the students a bunch. Gave my little talk. It was mostly like Q&A, right? They asked what the living was like in Iraq. They asked different things, and I told them stories. There's I want to say it was either 2020 or Frontline did a thing back in 2006 about convoy security, and that was what I did, right? So it's like, if you've watched this, that's what it was like over there. And it really was. But I left the classroom, and that was it, right? And that summer, I was a track coach as well. So a few of my students that were on my track team would run during the summer, and I'd go and run the routes with them. And I ran into that teacher that summer, and she's like, hey, do you have a minute? I was like, yeah. She's like, first of all, when you came to my classroom, I'm not a little guy, right? I'm not a super big guy either, right? But I carry myself well, I guess. But she's like, you came in, and it was so intimidating. And then within like a minute, you eased the entire classroom, including myself. She said, you were smiling, you were genuine, you laughed and joked with the students. After our final, for the final, I gave them, it was like 27 topics, and one of them was the day Sergeant Eck came to visit. She said all but like 4 people wrote about that visit. She said the class loved me and everything. And all that to say is, like, as a leader, you want to be accessible. You want everyone to drop their guard when they're around you and be able to come to you with anything. I think it's very important to show them that you genuinely care. I'm never gonna not talk about servant leadership, and this is all part of it, right? Servant leadership, right? You are there for your subordinates. They are not there for you, right? That's what servant leadership is. It's not just being in charge. Get that stupid crap out of your head. If you have to go and you have to yell at a group of people to get them to do something, you need to reevaluate your leadership style, how you're doing things, because you're doing it wrong, right? No one wants to be yelled at. I don't go to work every morning like, man, I sure hope I get my butt chewed today for something someone else did. No one wants that. I want to follow the guy that like, hey, by the end of the week, I need you to have 50 questions done. Cool, got it, boss, thank you. And Friday's like, hey, how many did you get done? Like 80. Wow, okay. So yeah, so those are my 8. I guess I'm not gonna say my philosophy on leadership. Those are my 8. Like, all right, am I doing this right? And I talked to you guys a while back about making sure you, as a leader, you should look at the NCO creed and live by that. If you're living by that, you're doing it right. You don't have to be angry and loud and yelling and all that other stuff to get your point across. Just show your subordinates that you actually give a crap about them. Here's my soapbox talk, and I didn't know where to put this on my 8 here, and there's a couple places I could have put it. I had a sergeant major back in 2014, 13, 14, who always said, it's leadership, not likership. First of all, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I hated it. He would give these long lectures to the entire battalion. And then I would have talks with my junior leaders afterwards. I'd say, hey, take that with a grain of salt. Listen, people, listeners, watchers. If your subordinates don't like you, they don't, again, I'm going back to the beginning of this. They don't have to like you as a friend. You guys don't have to be best friends. You don't have to go drinking together and party together. If they don't like you, they're not going to follow you. Or they're not going to want to follow you. They're not going to go to work and be like, oh, I can't wait to go and work for Sergeant First Class Eck. No, they're gonna, that's the last thing they're going to do. If you show that you give a crap about them and they like you, they're like, all right, it's Monday, I'm going to work. It isn't a rank, right? It isn't it's me they're going to work for. These are the ones who, every Friday night during my safety briefs, I would beg them to give me a call if they were going to drive and they were drinking. I will stop what I'm doing and drive you home. I got one call ever, but I was super proud to get that call. It shows that my subordinates trusted me, and most of them had already arranged rides, Uber, Lyft, that was all a thing, so it really wasn't that difficult to get a ride. But when they did call, I was so freaking happy. I would have driven them anywhere to 7 more bars, right? I didn't even care. I just cared that they knew that they could call me and I would be there for them. And it's probably not even that big of a deal, but in my head I was like, all right, good. This is awesome, right? I'm so happy. I'm proud of them for making such a smart decision and not driving drunk and killing somebody or themselves. So yeah. Anyway, going back, if you have that philosophy, if you're the guy who's like, you don't have to like me, but damn it, you're going to respect me. You're not leading right. All right, and I had a couple that I enjoyed their leadership style otherwise, but they would say that kind of crap. I'm like, right? You may disagree with me. If you disagree with me, that's cool. You want to argue on my YouTube, I'll be happy to argue with you. All right? I don't go in lengthy arguments. I'm not a super wordy guy. I babble a lot. That's all I do, and I don't do that when I type. So, if you want to prove me wrong, good luck. Yes, it's definitely open for conversation. If you want me to write these down, or I can email you these things as well, I'd be happy to. Yeah, so that's my 8, the EC 8. The EC 8 up. No, 8 up. No. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening. Again, reach out, shoot me a text, a message, let me know if you're worried sick. You probably are. It's a man cold. You probably understand man colds can be detrimental. Life and death situations. I mean, COVID is a laugh when it comes to man colds. So I should be fine though. Reach out. I'll be happy to answer, let you know I'm still alive. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. If you're on YouTube right now, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I always comment back. If you leave a comment that doesn't call for a response, I at least interact with your comment. Go to my Facebook page. A lot of you already like it. If you guys need anything, if you ever want me to bring anything up to talk about, I'll be happy to do that as well. I have an opinion on everything, especially when it comes to leadership and how to lead. I told you in the beginning, I've told you once, twice, 3 times before. I think I'm the best leader that was ever in the Army because I had the best leaders that taught me. Yeah, so again, like, subscribe, tell your people, tell your friends. I've gotten some outside people that have reached out to me, and that's freaking awesome. People I never met are actually messaging me now. That's so great. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Bye-bye.